He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi horror guy. Yeah. Lo-Fi Horror Guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy, and here we are today with another episode of Growing on You Live, number 11. We are going to be joined by Anders and Asia Eriksen, who are the founders of Werepups and Nightmare Gloves. Stay tuned for an all-new episode. Check it out.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear us?
It's looking a lot better. Looking a lot better.
Okay, good. All right. Good to know.
All right. So we started off here. I was asking, you guys are both horror fans. What are your top 3 horror films favorites?
You want to start this time? Okay. Nightmare on Elm Street, Subspecies, and Silver Bullet.
Ooh,
yeah, me,
okay.
Nightmare on Elm Street, Critters, and the third one I'm not really sure about. I think it was all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are the movies that I watched like over and over again. Like the original Critters, I probably saw about 100 times.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah. And then Nightmare on Elm Street, of course. And then there's just. Yeah, me too. Yeah. My 3 favorites, I just know them. Yeah. Every word to them and watch them a ridiculous amount of times when I was growing up. So yeah,
I think Silver Bullet really falls into that category with a lot of people that, what they saw it a little bit younger, and it's just been like, it's almost like a comfort food. They just, have loved it for years and years.
Yeah. It definitely so now, gave me like a werewolf impression.
Yeah. And we're going to get into that too a little bit later here. I'm not going to quite touch on it yet, but we will get into that. Now, if we were all making a horror movie, okay, and I asked you guys to be in charge of making the villain for it, whether it was going to be a giant monster, a silly, little demon, a vampire, werewolf, what would we go with? What would you guys have a villain for a horror movie?
You wrote a script, so I did. So, but it was almost like they're werewolves, but it's almost like the humans are the villains more than the werewolves. So, you also
sick.
had
That's a sweet
slasher.
Take on it. I like that.
It's very I think it's actually very telling of our style of horror because we started talking over because of the script that I was working on, and they had a slasher guy in it, which was sort of based on a costume I sort of put together when I was working at a haunted house in Pennsylvania, like years and years and years ago.
Okay.
And that would scare people. And they'd like, I just took stuff from the wardrobe and I had my own mask or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, then that became a character, and then she had the whole backstory for werewolves and all that stuff going on too. So I think it's very telling of what we like. Yeah. Slashers and werewolves.
I mean, that can certainly be made into a thing. It sounds sweet. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Have you guys put any sort of thought into actually putting that on something like that on screen?
I have some people that Ted Nicolau, the director of Subspecies, he had said that if we ever actually got it going, he would be willing to direct.
Damn.
And we have a few actors. Also, the actor who played Radu, he would play the mad scientist character. There's a lot of people that were on board, but it's like it's tough to get a film actually produced and put out there. We would
right. That'd be so sick. I mean, having that director and Radu himself, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we had Robert to play a bit part as well. Yeah, and he was
wild.
So he actually came with a lot of good suggestions for the script and whatnot. He was on the phone talking 70 miles an hour.
Nice.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
one
I
day.
mean,
Yeah,
We're
let's
still
hope.
hoping.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You know,
Maybe
and nowadays
it
too, it's a
will.
little bit of a thing as well as like, you know, there's different things like GoFundMe's and, you know, as far as like the horror community is one place
That's
where
true.
there's a lot of people that are willing to help when there are good things trying to be made, you know.
That's true.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, we kind of shelved it for a bit because we got the green light to work on Subspecies
sure,
5
sure.
with Ted and us and everybody. So then we said, all right, well, you know, we'll do this, and then maybe we'll revisit that after Subspecies 5 goes
Okay.
ahead.
Sick.
So,
Yeah, and we're going to touch
Yeah.
on that as well.
So-
So, just to start off though, what about you guys' horror origin story? Where did the interest start for you guys?
my mom.
Okay. What were some earlier movies or your early, like the first movie that you ever saw?
Like the Universal
Oh, yeah.
Studios monsters. My mom really was into those, and Twilight Zone. She had me kind of hooked on Twilight Zone, and me and her discovered Silver Bullet together.
Oh, okay.
And one of the things that she really loved was to sit down with like a cup of tea and watch Silver Bullet when it was on
Okay.
TV. So she just was really into horror ever since I was a baby, and loved dressing up like a witch for Halloween herself, and just everything that has to do with Halloween. My mom was like kind of obsessed.
Okay,
with.
that's sweet. And Anders, I know a little bit about your story as well, but let's recap on it. Where did it all start for you?
Yeah. I think the first horror film I saw was either Frankenstein or Psycho.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's I remember my mom. She was all like, "Oh yeah, there's this scary part about when he discovers, you know, when they discovered the mom in the basement and all that stuff." And it was like I really want to, you know. So I think Psycho might have been the very
Sure.
first one. Where
That's a good.
Yeah,
first
that's
one.
wild.
Yeah.
That's a pretty crazy introduction there.
Yeah, you didn't kind of just
Right.
get eased into it.
Right.
yeah, I think Frankenstein was the second.
Okay.
One. So, which I also love
Sure.
to this day. You know, Frankenstein and Psycho, they're still great. So, and then we started watching all sorts of other stuff, and then and we get older, we started, because that was back in the old VHS days, you know, and we had like this list, and we were in Denmark, so not all movies were released on VHS format to
Sure.
be played in Europe. So I remember we had to find Hellraiser and Texas Chainsaw Massacre from like the Netherlands
Okay.
or something like that. And so we would have these Dutch subtitles at the bottom of the screen when we were watching it. But there was like there was also fun, you know. There was, and it's like I remember that like the most disturbing thing ever was like watching Hellraiser 2 when we were kids.
I could imagine, especially being a little and watching that. Jesus.
I was like, oh my god, that movie was gross.
Hey, someone said greetings from Belgium.
Hey, how's it going? Very cool. So, you know, and that's really a common thing in the community as far as talking to people and hearing their stories, is being young and being introduced to this stuff and just that terrifying feeling, but then also, you know, like pushing yourself through it and be like, all right, I can make this, I can try, and you have nightmares for months, but that's where that addiction starts.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
We still look for like mostly for me it's nowadays it's like ghost movies that'll do that to me
Oh,
with
yeah.
like something really creepy, because I can like psych myself out and still
Uh-huh.
get scared by it, and that's like my favorite
Oh
feeling
yeah,
in the world.
yeah. Actually that is
Yeah.
the same way with me. You know, to where I can be down in my basement watching something, and even if it's something
Yeah,
newer
yeah.
like The Conjuring, there'll be moments where something will happen,
Right, same
and I
here.
have to flip on the light because the ghost stories always get me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll do that, and
Yeah.
and I'll be like, geez, I'm a grown woman and I'm scared to go to the bathroom and like look in the bathroom mirror because something's
Yeah,
behind
right,
me.
right.
Yeah. I think somehow you almost train your brain
I
to like
think so.
spot like
I
things
love
where if this was a horror movie, there'd be something over there right now.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's terrible, but I love it every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. We do. We see it out sometimes, I think, and then we run away from
Yeah.
it afterwards.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
so agree with that. So afraid of ghost movies, but I always want to see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
right on.
It'll always pull you right back in. Yeah. So now, Asia, you you are the creator of Werepups. So to start off, what can you tell us about this, and how did this all start?
Well, when I was a kid, I had the obsession with werewolves, as we mentioned earlier with Silver Bullet that started. There was like a scene in Silver Bullet where he has a nightmare, and you can see all the people in the church pews turning into werewolves, and then at one split second, somebody has a baby, and you can see that the mom and her baby both turned into a werewolf. Well, I went over that and I like paused it like 100 times to try and see that baby. And that just kind of like fueled this idea of like thinking, man, if I had a werewolf baby, would it be cute like a puppy? Like, would it have puppy breath? Like, what would it be like? Then it would grow up into this big monster and like try to eat me. So it kind of became like a weird little obsession that I always wanted one as like a dream toy. So after me and him connected, and I think we had been married for like a year, I started messing with some of his effects stuff in his workshop. And I was kind of like, well, if I make something, can you make a mold of it? And I made the first like little rubber werepup.
Sure.
And I just, worked on it day and night, and that was my dream toy. So that's how I got started with it. And that was about, I think I made that one like 10 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a huge following for those too.
Yeah,
There
I mean,
is, yeah.
they're kind of hard to get because it takes me forever to make them. I mean, I'm slow as molasses. So.
Well, that was my next question: is how long is it typically from start to finish, where one of those take you to
like
create?
It can take me. It depends, like what I'm working on. That's the thing, is that it can take a couple of weeks, or it can take me longer than that. And it's also because when I'm working, yet in the vibe of doing a certain thing, and if it's got like spots or stripes or something like that, it can take a long time. Or if it's something that I'm super excited about, like trying something new, then I can sort of blast it out. And then I kind of, make 5 or 6 at a time sometimes and jump from one to the other. So it's really like hard to say exactly how many hours I put into each one, because it just varies so much from the different ones.
There's been a couple that I've seen, and you have to tell me, am I just imagining, or are there some that are actually breathing? What is going on here?
I did make one with a breather in it. But
my God.
I've only made one so far. Actually, one werepup and one Krampus with a breather inside.
Oh, really?
So there's these little mechanisms you can buy online and at doll places where you order like things for making dolls. It's just a little mechanism that you buy online, and you can stick it inside of a soft doll body, and it'll make it look like it's breathing. I've had 2 of them so far. They freak people out pretty good. Yeah.
So now,
someone said here.
Yeah.
Here's normal. Okay.
So it's normal.
Oh, okay.
It's good to know that.
Well, then, yeah. So now, Anders, you create the Nightmare gloves. So tell us how this started, and tell us, how you got involved with this.
Well, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, they weren't all released in Denmark. So I remember that it was by Nightmare 3. That's when the first movie, to my knowledge, that was released in Denmark in movie theaters. And I was in school, and all the kids, they were talking about, well, not all the kids, but the ones who went to see it. The cool ones, yeah, the ones I talked to anyway. They had seen Nightmare 3. And back then, they didn't know the backstory or anything. So one guy, he was like, oh, yeah, it's this creepy old dude with a hat. And he uses a guy as a marionette, And it's like, what?
Right.
See that?
Right.
So that was basically the introduction to Freddy, is that there was a creepy old dude with a hat who used the kid as a marionette. So I was like, well, that's good enough for me to want to see that. And so that's when we started watching the Nightmare series, and then Nightmare 4. And I think, then I was being a bastard, and then I bought my brother Nightmare 1 on VHS, because obviously he would want to see it too, right?
This is younger brother, I take it? Oh, is it? Oh, okay. So, you said you were being a bastard, so I thought you were just like, oh, yeah, check this out. It's a really funny movie, and ruins them for life.
That was a good excuse to buy it.
Yeah.
So, and then there's the introduction where he starts building the glove right there in the beginning of the movie.
Okay.
And that was like the most amazing thing I've ever seen, you know. So I immediately asked my dad, it's like, hey, can we build this? And he was like, no. So I started. So
No.
Yeah, right. That's typically how that works. Yeah.
yeah. So I took down the curtain rod from my room and got vegetable knives and all that stuff
wow.
and started just putting my own glove together like that. And then it's like, all right, I guess you're doing it anyway, so I might as well help make sure you
Okay.
don't lose a finger or something.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah,
No
so we
kidding.
built the very first. Yeah. So I still have that at home too. So
Oh,
that's how it started. And it's like,
and you still have the original glove that
and then
you built with everything?
I do, yeah. The
Oh wow,
I don't
that's
have the
awesome.
original curtain finger piece, but the glove that we built, I still have that. And then
Sick.
soon after, I started. Oh, so anyway, so and then I built a couple of more, and then people started just wanting to them, and so that's how it started. A friend of mine in England, he wanted one, and then he just
Okay,
quickly
sweet.
put together a website. Yeah, and then Nancy
Okay.
England and Robert they saw and they liked them. So yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah. They are incredible and awesome quality, and uh, I
Thank
had
you.
had I had had somebody, a Peter Sedal, he reached out, and I was going to do a guest question from him because he had a question for you in pertaining to your product. He's loved your stuff for so long, and he's went to different conventions with your gloves before, and people have noticed, and so he was asking what scene or moment in particular sparked the idea to recreate the glove.
That was the Nightmare one for sure. Yeah, when I saw Freddie
Mm-hmm.
build it in his boiler room, right there, then I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do the same thing. So before then, I'd been a
Oh,
Freddie
okay.
fan already, but then you see him, and that's just that I don't know, like creative inspiration. That was right there
Sure.
for sure when he had this
Okay. Now,
bag up.
and to add on to that, what were
It's
some early attempts to where you kind of had to learn and adjust to get to the model that you have today with it?
a lot, a lot. In Denmark, there's like I mean, you don't know how hard it is to find rivets. Like, and I used like solid brass rivets for the first ones, the ones that you have to hammer, like so to compress the metal. It's
Damn.
not one solid. That's the first ones, and I had to go to a different town. And then there was this guy who had this old workshop, and he had like, oh yeah, I think I have some rivets. And then he had this box, and then it was like, here, you can find what you need in here. And so I was like rummaging through that and picking out the ones I needed and stuff. And that was the first one, and I only got like, I don't know.
Evan.
I really
Denmark
had to.
for
Yes, I did.
glove
And
pieces.
then I went to this
Dang,
metal.
really?
Yeah, it was like a metal cutting factory or something. And I got, and I don't know why I just used regular knives. I don't know, but I went to this metal cutting factory to get the blades, right? And then they have these saw blades that they use to cut metal with, and I used those saw blades for the first gloves. So they're super duper strong, super hard. But
I wonder who has those ones.
I know.
Yeah, right.
Somebody's got to come out at some point.
I know one guy in England. I know him still. But yeah, it was like super. I mean, they're pretty hardcore. It was like metal. There's used to cut
Yeah.
metal.
Wow.
And they're like solid rivets and like thicker copper than they use in the movie. And then, but that's how the very first 5 or so were built. And so I had to learn how to solder and all that stuff, and then just like, yeah. So and of course the work gloves,
Oh.
they too. I had to import those from the United States because we don't have those little pull string things. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah. It was
Wow.
back then. There was like you had to make all your own templates because nobody else was building them, to my knowledge, back then,
Right.
except for the movies.
Right.
I know that there were like maybe two or three other guys in the United States who did, but I didn't know them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Wow. You basically took on a whole
Yeah.
trade just to figure all this out. That's awesome.
I did. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. So there's a lot of work in there.
And it's the attention to detail as far as both of your guys' products. Oh my lord, there it is. Now,
yes.
This was like my second anniversary gift that he made me.
oh my
See,
god.
it actually says my name in solder spills, and it's custom fitted to my hand with all the holes that I like, because I really like the that look from the first movie with all the.
That is so sick, man! Shout out. That is awesome.
His custom work
Yeah.
is like his custom work is my favorite stuff that he does when he's not,
Yeah.
just doing one from a specific movie and does these like
Sure.
sort of
Yeah.
bastard gloves.
Sure.
Yeah. I like to do that.
Wow.
Yeah,
and this was the first glove I gave you.
yeah, that's true. Because I've never been a flowers and diamonds guy. So when we first met, he gave me this, and then my anniversary present was the other.
Right. Right. Yeah. He gives you flowers, and you're like, do you even know me?
Exactly. No.
Wow, that's awesome. That's sweet. So now, I mean, and like I said, the attention to detail is what really has boomed your guys' product as far as the customers and everything that they love. So, that's really, continue on, because that's an important thing for, especially in our community, to see, the passion and the love behind it. So that's awesome. Now, aside from your guys' pieces that you work on, you're also working on the new Subspecies movie you mentioned earlier. What can you tell us about that and your involvement in it?
Well, it's a prequel,
Oh.
and they were trying to get it made for about 20 years.
Okay.
It was a long time in the making. Ted Nicolau wrote a script for a prequel, and we were all really pushing hard to get it done for a long time, because we knew we wanted to be involved when we met the cast and became friends with them. And, we really were just fired up to be on board for this. As effects artists, it's something that I've been super passionate about ever since I was a kid, because they're one of my favorite films of all time. So it finally got greenlit, and then of course the coronavirus happened.
Right.
So we're waiting for the ability to travel overseas.
Because now it's scheduled to shoot in Serbia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's basically a prequel that where you follow Radu and how he became the terrible monster that he is, and his origin. So it's pretty cool. It's kind of medieval stuff, and just it looks like it's going to be a blast to work on.
Okay.
I can't wait. Yeah. We already started making some of the props and had a lot of fun with that.
That's very cool.
And,
sadly, there's a lot of hole and stuff.
Now, is this being released through Full Moon?
As soon as
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it will be a full moon film, and the original actor that played Radu, Anis Hove, and the original actress that played Michelle, Denise Duff, she's in there. Ted Nicolau's directing, so the crew is back together, and we're just super excited to be part of it. So I can't wait till that.
Right.
We're psyched.
Now, when this is the first movie that you guys are being a part of, correct? As far as in the Subspecies. Okay.
Oh,
is this the first movie ever that you guys have worked on?
Well, we worked in some smaller movies.
He
before.
made some smaller films back in Denmark.
Okay.
And,
and then we did the Hog Mall.
Yeah, but this is certainly going to be the biggest. Already with like a little cult following that Subspecies has.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
it will be the first.
Like
bigger. It'll be a big thing for us. It's a first in many ways, especially for me. I haven't.
And it's the first time we were gone out of the country just to
for
shoot.
Sure.
Yeah.
To shoot a film, and do. So that's gonna be a whole new adventure. That we were talking about how to get materials and all the stuff we need shipped over there. It's not just you can't do it at home.
Sure.
So. Be interesting. For
Is
sure.
this like a month's or like a commitment, like a week's commitment type thing, or is it, are you going to have to kind of pick up and pack up some of your stuff, or is it kind of just a couple of days that you're going to go over?
No, it's gonna be.
I think over a month.
Yeah, over.
I don't want to dig too
Yeah.
much because I'm not trying to get like super secret stuff and ruin anything.
No. Yeah. No, I mean, we already started working and stuff that we're gonna cast and bring over there with us and ship.
So we'll be doing the makeup on everybody and everything like that. So we were set to actually go to the shooting area before most of the actors arrived. So we were going to be there earlier than everybody else. So we would have like about a month or a little over
I think
a month.
that they're going to shoot for 3 weeks and we're going to be there.
We were going to be there a week or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, well, I mean, that's the plan. So
Sure.
We'll see.
Okay.
But, for sure. Because not all the actors have been cast, so there's some makeup we have to do right on the spot, I think. Which is going to be interesting.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Actually,
I mean, it'll go over fine. It'll be a little rush, but that's where all the fun is figuring all this stuff out.
Yeah. Well,
Sure.
I don't even know what they're doing in Serbia, so
right. So, Anders, I'm familiar with your story as far as being younger and watching Nightmare on Elm Street 3. So, as far as any other series, do you guys have a particular movie that you're a fan of, a certain sequel? Maybe even over the original movie.
Yeah, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
I'm sure there are some.
Yeah, I mean, for the Subspecies movies, I always like the second one.
True.
The best.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's the scene in the beginning where Radu like flips out, and
yeah.
fantastic. Do you know which one I'm talking? Have you seen it? Where he just flips out and starts stomping all over his brother's skeleton and just starts screaming, "You will suffer dearly for this!" Like it's. But other than that, like they tied up the effects really nicely in that one, and they refined his makeup and just did a lot of things in that film that I think, personally, I think surpassed the first one. I love the first one. I love all of them.
Yeah. But for me, it's like 2 and 3. They are really.
2 and 3 are
they're really
back
great.
to back.
Yeah, they're really great.
But shoot, as far as other movies,
remakes I have though. There's
like
some
the Night
remakes
of the
that I
Living
like better
Dead.
than the original.
Nah, I like the original Night of the Living Dead.
No, I'm not talking. It's like The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. This
The
is
Thing.
better than the first movie.
I agree. Absolutely agree.
And,
The Fly.
And then The Fly. Yeah. I like the old one too.
The old one is good too,
The
but
Fly,
man,
yeah,
the redo with Jeff Goldblum is banging.
Yeah, it's Brundlefly.
Yeah.
I actually like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 better than the first one. Yeah.
Dude, that was one of the ones I was going to reference. That movie is so good.
Really?
It tying in the silliness and just the whole like Bill Moseley's character is awesome.
Yeah.
Left
Right.
I love it. I love
Chop Top. Yeah, music is my
he's my favorite.
So now,
he's great.
An older movie. This is kind of something I was going to tie in as well for our next question. An older movie that you guys may have been a fan of. What would be something that you would be interested in remaking with the attention to detail that you guys both have? I believe you would make an awesome product. Something that hasn't been remade.
Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine.
Yes, that's true. Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine would be amazing.
What was it?
We have this amazing. We have an amazing idea. Because you know how Robert Englund, he says like he's a new Vincent Price. It's like, and we would love to redo like 3 old Vincent Price movies with Robert Englund, and then bring them up to date. And then just put a more horror spin on them. And Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine would be so amazing. Like, because it's a really dark story.
I don't even know if I know what it is.
It is actually a dark story.
Yeah.
It's wrapped in silliness.
It is.
From the 70s.
It's a guy who makes basically like spy robots and different things.
Yeah, but out of dead bodies, though.
Out of dead bodies.
They just don't do it in a horrifying way in that movie, and you could.
Right.
So
Right. Okay. Damn. That sounds awesome.
It's like, yeah.
I've never heard of it, so
Yeah,
I
it's
am
an
for sure going to be checking that out
You should
ASAP.
see it. It's yeah, it's incredibly stupid.
When you're in the mood for something stupid, yeah.
But
Which is
it
all
has
the
potential.
time.
Yeah.
But that and a couple of other Vincent Price movies, we would love to recast Robert in Vincent Price roles.
Yeah,
that would be,
like also,
I think that'd be awesome.
Comedy of Terror would be a good one.
Oh, okay.
And what else? There's another one.
What's your favorite one again?
Comedy of Terrors, and that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, I would do Comedy of Terrors and Dr. Goldfoot.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's another one that was also going to be a great candidate for being remade with Robert, because in those movies they do have a similar style, you know, of acting, and it's great to just do like full on horror.
I know I really like Tomb of Lygia, but that's not not everybody's favorite.
No,
it's mostly because Vincent Price looks so nice.
I know, he's a very...
Now, I might sound like a real big dummy here asking, but is Vincent Price in The Tingler? Have you ever heard of that movie?
Yeah, The Tingler is
that
a
would
great
be
one.
so, like, I've always thought it'd be so cool for something nowadays, like a more 4D experience in the theater, you know, with like somehow being able to pull that. I thought that would be such a cool thing.
Yeah, William Castle, right?
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, see, that's kind of what they were doing in a little while back. What was it called? The company they made up for that.
Is it like the D-Box?
Where they redid 13 Ghosts and House on Haunted Hill.
That's right.
They remade those in modern.
I thought you were talking about the theater. I'm sorry. Yeah. And both of those movies are actually really good. That House on Haunted Hill, I love that remake.
I liked them. I was wanting them to go on and make more, but then it kind of fizzled out for some reason.
And sometimes that's for the best, you know. If you get some good things, it's good not to keep on continuing, because that's where the rubbish comes from.
Yeah. Yeah, but
it's getting too silly.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But then, like, particularly, they never did.
Yeah, that'd be another one for sure.
Really cool. Yeah, right. Well, the new like cool monster instead of that. Rubber
I like that.
Yeah, the silliness. You know, if you have a little string pulling it across or something, perfect. I'm all in.
Yeah.
So now, Asia, you have a alter ego that you go by, which is Dr. Baxter. Tell us about this. Is there some sort of reference behind this, or you know, when you're creating? Let us know about this.
It's a mad scientist in the script that we were talking about earlier.
Okay.
Came up with this mad scientist character who basically he basically makes the Werepups. So it's pretty much that for me. Is like I put a lot of myself into this character in general. So that's really what that's about.
All right.
He's kind of just an old guy in a beat up lab coat, but he's cool as hell.
Okay. All right. Are you guys interested as far as if there like somebody ever came and offered you a role acting? Is that something that you've ever thought about or not?
I think I would be terrible in front of a camera.
Yeah.
I just like to I'd like to just do effects and
behind the scenes
stuff.
Sure.
I kind of like to be in the back enjoying all the fun stuff that goes along with it, but not really be seen.
Sure. I can appreciate that, because there's a lot of actors out there nowadays that I kind of wish that had that same mentality.
I hear you on that.
One person I can say, though, that is not that way is Tom Savini. That guy in acting, I love him.
Oh, yeah.
Anything he does.
Yeah. He's got sort of tongue-in-cheek approach to
he does,
which makes it and the thing is that the way he started acting also makes perfect sense, because he was making all these effects and he says, well, shoot the head at this angle, and if it's a guy who's not necessarily needs to be on scene a whole lot, then he can just do it, then he'll know he hits it right, you know. So I think that he came into it in a very natural way.
He's also I have a good Tom Savini story for you. At Texas, was it Texas Frightmare? I had my daughter there. It was her first convention some years ago. She was like 6 years old. And Tom Savini, he's always come over and said really, really nice things about the Werepups. Like, especially like when I was first starting out. Well, he brought me and my daughter over with the Werepup because he really wanted to show the Werepups to Danny Trejo.
Okay.
So he pulls Danny Trejo out while he's like in the middle of signing and stuff, and he stops the line and stuff and like, look at these, and shoves the Werepup in Danny Trejo's face. And everybody was kind of like really shocked because it was not something that they know, people hadn't really seen Werepups that much before.
Sure.
So he was pretty nice to us. He was a nice guy.
He's always been a fan of Werepups.
What
Yeah,
was
he's always
his
been
initial
nice.
reaction to it? Did he kind of jump back, or was he like, "Oh, that's
Danny
cute"?
Trejo looked. No, he kind of looked shocked.
Sure. I know.
And I think that was Savini's point, was that he just wanted to freak Danny out a little
Yeah,
bit.
okay.
It was pretty. It was nice. He took a picture with my daughter and stuff.
Oh,
like
okay,
that,
that's
so.
awesome. I know I saw the interview where I can't remember what his name was, but he brought one of your Werepups to downtown New York there, and just some of the reactions off
Oh,
people
yeah.
was like,
Nice.
"Dear Lord."
Yeah.
Those guys were nice. They were from
Vice?
Vice, and they
Okay,
came out
okay,
and
yeah.
picked one up, brought it to New York, and did this whole thing with it. It was pretty
Yeah.
cool. That was like last Halloween, I think.
Oh, was it? Okay.
And then one thing that I wanted to mention is that now we're going to be working with Trick or Treat Studios
Sick.
with the Werepups.
Very
So
cool.
Yeah.
they just gave me permission to announce that
Oh
here.
my God, that's awesome. And
What I've been working on all day are like the prototypes. So this is one. Of course, it's just all white, so it looks weird. But this is the resin prototype that I'm getting sent off to the Trick or Treat Studios this week.
damn,
The tooling masters.
that's
So
so
it should be-
wild.
That should be fun.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
that is
Those
so
guys
sick.
put out some really cool stuff.
Oh
And
yeah,
I know they're going to do a really good job.
Oh yeah.
sure. Trick or Treat
Yeah,
is
so-
so awesome. Now, is this something where are you gonna be making all of them too to be sold on the site, or how is that? Okay, yeah,
Oh my
that's what I
God.
was like. Holy,
I can't even make the ones
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
had. That's the point, though, is to make them more
Accessible.
available to people, because they've been notoriously hard to get. Because, like I said, I take too long to make them myself, and the demand was just higher than I could. So they're making them available to a wider audience for an easier, affordable price, and easier to get, where you don't have to wait 2 or 3 years
sure.
to get one.
Sure.
So I'm so glad that they're taking.
Yeah, that is so cool. But the thing is too, also, is I think people appreciate the fact of that you're not just pushing out stuff that you're not fully happy with.
The majority of people, they actually are extremely sweet about it.
That's
You know, the majority are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some really,
So-
touching stories too, as far as people that, that they help, with bonding with them and everything, and have gone through a lot. And so, there's a lot of really cool background to a lot of the customers that you have. Or is
Yeah.
it your pack?
Lifelong friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Yes,
pack. I've made some
exactly.
lifelong
Yeah.
friends. I mean, man, for real, I've made some really lifelong friends through it. So I'm very
Sure.
thankful for them. For
Okay.
those people.
Now, I know some time ago you got a huge lot of some utensils that you keep up in your lab. What can you tell us about some of those, and what would be what would be your favorite that you acquired?
Well, the stuff that I got came from like a mental institution that was closed down, and a lady was selling all this stuff on Craigslist, so I jumped in and bought it. Before that, I got an embalming machine from the wife of an
Oh my
undertaker.
God!
And she was and I got a casket too, but my brother has it.
Holy shit!
She was this sweet little old lady, and she just wanted to sell all of it to me for $20.
What?
Like I went for the coffin, because I was looking for a coffin for fun. I was looking for a coffin. I went for the coffin, and she was just like, it was a sweet little old lady. She was just like, my husband passed away, and I could finally get rid of this stuff. He was an undertaker, and he kept this here, and this coffin was like a used, because it was just for viewings, like when people have viewings and then they're cremated, so they reuse the same coffin all the time. So I got that, and then I was like, do you have anything else? And she showed me this embalming machine. It's like, it's obviously used. It's up in my lab now. It's like dirty and disgusting. And she was like, all right, well, $25, and I'll throw that in. Just get it out of here. And I'm like, yes. This is the greatest thing I've ever done.
Damn.
So yeah, I love it.
Oh, you know what? That just reminds me, Phantasm.
Oh
Yeah, oh
yeah.
yeah, that's a good
Phantasm.
one.
Then of course that
That's
makes me think of Evil Dead, where the
Evil Dead. We just got my daughter into Evil
Okay.
Dead.
Yeah,
Yeah, we just got our kid
That
into
is
Evil
awesome.
Dead.
yeah. So that's awesome.
We're excited about that. Right?
I just recently showed my boy Army of Darkness. That's where I started. Yeah.
Nice. That's a
And
good
that-
one to start
yeah,
with. For
that's
Such
sure.
a fun, silly movie. It's awesome.
It is. Yeah.
My older brother raised me on
Oh
Phantasm
yeah.
and Evil Dead.
Sick.
He was showing me those. When my mom was showing me the more spooky stuff, he was showing me the
Sillier side of things.
the Evil Dead. Yeah, the crazy, a little bit more gory
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
But, yeah, Phantasm. That's Phantasm and Evil Dead. Those might just be movies where some of the sequels are better than.
I mean,
Yeah.
Evil Dead wise,
Evil Dead 2 is
Yeah. Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
nice.
You can almost hear it laugh.
Evil
Yeah.
Dead 2. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite scenes.
That's me.
We're
Me
all-
too.
One of my favorite scenes. I love when how
Yes.
the lamp kind of sounds like popcorn.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a very Three Stooges moment. Just very silly and slapstick.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where it's
Yeah.
so great
Yeah.
though. You gotta love all the Stooges stuff in Evil Dead. It's just one of the things that makes it
Yeah.
what it
I
is.
agree.
you know?
Absolutely. And I love when he fights with his hands while it's still attached to him.
Smashing the plates over his head.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah, you
Oh,
can't
yeah.
beat that.
No.
You cannot beat that.
Oh man, that just reminded me again. It's like I got I think it's back in Denmark, but I have like a really good replica of Ash's chainsaw hand.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
that'd be so sick to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring that here.
I traded that for a glove.
Dude.
The guy who makes them back then, he wanted a glove that looked like the one that you see in the
Oh
shed.
right.
You know, the shed
Yep.
glove, yeah. So I said, I'll build you with that. And
That's
it's like,
cool.
got the damn chainsaw hand for it, so it's awesome.
Damn.
Yeah, it's
That is so
It's pretty
sick.
badass.
Wow. So this is unfortunately we could talk on for hours, but unfortunately this app too, it only goes for an hour, so it's gonna be cutting us off here pretty soon.
Yeah.
okay.
But for our finale
Okay.
question, and this
Problem.
may be tying in a little bit to what we're just talking about, what would, if you could have any one prop from any movie, sold, or if it's just long gone, if you could have any one prop from any horror movie, what would it be?
Could it be any time?
Any
Like,
time.
for instance, some props have changed over time, so like, because then I know that there's the Nightmare 1 and Nightmare 4 gloves, but they no longer look like they did back in the day when they were used. So,
Sure.
I would be curious to have the Nightmare 1 glove as it was in Nightmare 2.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, as it appeared in Nightmare 2 with everything intact before it all fell apart.
Yeah.
That's how I would like to have that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And maybe after that, maybe a Nightmare 4 glove as it appeared in the movie.
Okay.
Nice. Nice.
And then a critter.
And a critter.
Oh yeah, a critter, of course. Asia, do you have any particulars?
I would take Radu's head from Subspecies 2.
Nice.
I would take that.
Yeah.
Or I would take the werewolf baby prop from Silver
Yeah.
Bullet,
Yeah.
which I actually had a conversation with the guy on Instagram. I think his name is Michael Sean McCracken, who actually made that, and he said he would actually bring it out so I could look at it.
Damn, no
So
kidding.
that'll be Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Bring your baby out.
He was on Instagram, and he was kind of like, well, apparently werewolf babies are a thing now, so
Dang. Yeah, that's so sick. Wow.
bored. I was so excited. I geeked
Right.
out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you might even be able to get like an actual picture of the thing and make like the legit prop to be able to, there you go.
Yeah.
With Trick or Treat Studios.
Yeah, I mean, I like to sell my own
Yeah.
designs, but I would be so excited to just
Collaboration,
like
yeah.
hold it.
Yeah.
I would love to do a collaboration with them, like a
Yeah.
Silver Bullet
Yeah.
edition, something like
Yeah,
that. Would be
that'd be cool.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, this is your guys' opportunity. Round of applause for sure. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to plug whatever you have going on, tell some people about some stuff coming up. This is your opportunity.
Well, definitely want to plug Trick or Treat Studios.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They've got stuff
Yeah,
coming out.
they've got
His
their
his
gloves
gloves,
coming
my Werepups.
Yeah.
They're going to be a big one to watch if you want to see stuff from us
Yeah,
in the
for
future.
sure.
And of course, Subspecies 5.
Five,
Keep looking out for it. You know, follow Ted Nicolau, follow Denise Duff, follow
the Deadly
Full
10.
Moon, the Deadly 10, Full Moon features, because that's coming out as soon as we kick this virus in the ass. we'll be up and running again with that. So
Beautiful. Awesome.
So that's
Well, very, very cool.
thanks so much.
Thank you for being on. I really appreciate it. You guys have been so cool and so approachable too. That's one of the beautiful things about this whole community and this show in particular is being able to meet people like you. So I really appreciate your hospitality, and you guys take care and you stay safe and stay healthy.
Thanks a lot.
All right,
You too.
take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.